Hey,
Cool.
Jerry.
Welcome all. We're early. We're 60
We are.
seconds.
We are.
We're 60 seconds early.
60 seconds early.
You know, it's a preview.
It's
an opportunity for
Gonna
people
get
to
all of our chats set up here.
Yes,
so
we need
that
the
I can
YouTube chat,
talk to the people.
Facebook chat, YouTube and Facebook. Hey there.
Hello.
Instagram.
Instagram.
Hey, everyone.
Side angle. We're getting some waves. Hello.
How's everyone doing? Good to see you here. Welcome to
Welcome to. We need a name for our show.
I
Welcome
know.
to the Alumilite Live for now.
but maybe, do y'all have a good name idea?
If you have name ideas, please drop them in the chat.
Yes,
we
please
love
do.
a good alliteration.
we are suckers for a good alliteration.
So you've got Taylor, you've got Jordan. You might know that already. You
That's
might
right.
not. Got Alumilite, Resin. Trying to think what fun names you can come up with.
I know. I'm
Live.
like planting seeds now.
Alumalive. That's a pretty good one.
Is it too corny?
It is.
Fair enough.
But I'm not mad about it. So,
Gotcha.
folks, hit us with your. Janelle's on. Hey, Janelle.
Janelle.
Hit
Hey,
us with
Janelle.
your suggestions.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
We've got our chats rocking and rolling.
I'm excited for today.
Me too.
Should I give them a quick preview of where we're headed?
I think you should.
Okay.
And the segments maybe a little bit. It's an
Yeah.
exciting one today.
Let's do it. So from last week, we talked to y'all about how this is for you and how we're going to come up with some different ideas of what we want to do
Yes.
here. So I threw out some ideas. Y'all liked a couple of them a lot. So we're going to do those today, and we're going to keep it pretty short. We're going to keep this to maybe a half hour, hopefully, here. So
don't
we're not
wanna
taking
take
up
your
hours.
whole day.
That's right. So today we're going to do 3 different segments. We're going to start with science time, move on to fix it, and then we're going to do some Q&A. And so for those of you that put in questions ahead of time, we answer those first. A little bonus for everybody on Instagram who's typing into that weird box in there. We're answering
love
those
you for
questions
that.
first. And then we'll move on to the actual questions y'all are putting in the chat.
Sounds great to me.
Cool. Should we start it off? Let's jump in
Let's jump in
to
some
science time. Let's do science time, everyone.
Let's.
All right. If you'll notice, first thing we got to do with science time is we got to get our
I'm gonna put my
safety equipment
safeties
on, right?
The old regular glasses won't cut it
No,
today.
you're gonna have to jump it up a little bit.
Instagram, I'm moving you over to Jordan's
Here you go.
station. I'm here for you if
Welcome
you
to
need
science
me.
time. All right, so in an Alumilite Explains video, which if you haven't seen those on our YouTube channel, definitely go check those out. I'm jumping into more science stuff, a little bit more of the behind the scenes of why stuff works and how stuff works.
They asked for it.
Y'all asked for it.
Yes.
So I figured our first science time should be about epoxy and polyurethane and one of the key differences between the two.
I think that's a great idea.
Cool. Well, what I've got here are 2 pieces of, it's 2 pieces of wood here, but plywood here. And I got to be honest with you, they look like pieces of cake. That looks delicious. But
do.
they're not pieces of cake, they're pieces of plywood. And what I've got here is just a simple little bit of amazing clear cast. And then right
Classic.
here, I've got some clear slow. So clear slow is a polyurethane, and amazing clear cast is an epoxy. Now, these aren't just any 2 pieces of plywood, Tay.
No? Why's that?
I've actually had them soaking in water, believe it or not, here.
Moisture.
So moisture is what we're talking about, folks. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back to this. We're going to check in on this science time throughout the live. But I'm going to go ahead and dump this epoxy just right on top here of the one to my left. But is it staged right?
It's different on both platforms we're on, so there's a real
This one.
conundrum.
Just pay
This
attention
one.
right now. This one. This one is epoxy,
This
everyone.
one, the one closest to me.
That's epoxy. So we're going to see what happens with epoxy. I mean, these are waterlogged pieces of wood here, right? We're seeing here. We're trying the experiment. We're going to see what happens here. I have a hunch of what's going to go down. So this is clear slow, 12-minute open time. I did mix this a little bit ago because I didn't want us to have to wait for all 12 minutes. But I'm just pouring them right on top here, and we're going to see. Because a lot of people, believe it or not, are a little confused by the products. And they're like, why can't I use clear slow or clear?
That makes sense. They're
with
all
wood?
clear.
They're all called clear. You're trying to figure it out. So for science time today, I'm going to show you the reason why we tell you to not use clear or clear slow unless your wood is completely dry or stabilized,
Yes.
or unless you're doing something very specific.
Very
like that.
important.
So there we go.
Very important.
We're going to come back to this, and we're going to check in on this. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be fun. I'm hoping something fun comes out of this.
Me
one.
too. I
We'll
think
see.
it just might.
TBD.
I think it might.
So everybody hold on for that. some. All right. Oh, science time. That was really quick.
It was invigorating, though.
But don't worry.
I can't wait to see what happens.
It's really a teaser for science time.
Right.
Because it's going to happen
we'll
a little
check
bit.
back in.
We're going to check back in.
Yes.
Don't worry about it.
In the meantime,
Let's jump to segment number 2, shall
yes,
we?
I
Fix it.
have a problem.
Oh, yes.
Which is actually not my problem. It's Kevin's problem.
It's Kevin's problem. Now, we asked for submissions, right?
Yes, we did. We got a few.
Okay.
I would like to see more. People don't like to share their mistakes very often,
Oh, man.
but we've made quite a few of them, so we will not judge you for what you send our way.
Taylor's being very gracious right now. I have made so many of them.
I've witnessed most. I have witnessed most of them.
Any mistake you think you're going to make or are nervous about making, I promise you, I have already made that mistake. It's not that we're these savants that know exactly what to do every time. A lot of the time, it's because I've made a mistake and I've learned from that mistake, or somebody has taught me about the mistake that they
Yes.
made too.
The videos you see us post are like version 2 or 3 after the mistakes have been made. So thank you for bearing with us there.
That's right.
So we put a call out for submissions.
We did.
And we got one from Kevin.
Kevin.
So Kevin was someone we helped a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And we actually hurt his project.
Uh-oh.
Yes. We gave him some misinformation, which we have completely owned up to. So here is Kevin's problem. I'll read it, Jordan, so you can help answer,
All right.
since
I'm
you
all
can't
ears.
see that screen. Everything was great up until I put a thin top coat on it, it being a river table that he had poured.
Got it.
The river was poured in 2 1-inch layers of amazing deep pour, and I was ecstatic. I texted you guys above asking when to pour a top coat, and I did so with a thin layer of Clearcast UV. That's our amazing Clearcast Plus.
Right.
Initially, the flood coat looked nice. The next day, the river area was ugly with a rough surface and soft spots. The flood coat over the wood looks great. The river never properly cured, so I applied denatured alcohol after a few days, and that seemed to help. I've now let this sit for about 2 weeks after routering flat and then sanding with 80 grit, hoping to pour a new flood coat. I'd say it's like delaminating, as the top will not stay hard. The one end is pretty wet and sticky. I don't know how to proceed.
Got it. Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding. He's used the amazing deep pour.
Yes.
And he's poured a river
Poured a
table.
river table.
A couple layers worth,
Yep.
inch layers worth of a river table.
Yep.
And then he's top coating it with the amazing Clearcast Plus.
Yes.
Which is our UV enhanced epoxy.
Yes. Great for coating.
Great for coating.
However, the instructions we gave him were to pour it too soon. There was just a little miscommunication in our help, which we fully have owned up to. Kevin is aware. But the amazing deep pour had not cured for 5 to 7 days before he poured the top coat of epoxy. I think Matt popped a video or a photo up for Facebook and
you.
YouTube.
Oh, yeah, there
so
you go,
can see what
Facebook and
that looks
YouTube.
like. Instagram,
Got it.
Facebook, and YouTube has the photo.
Just a thought. Maybe worth opening up both of them. No, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think you mentioned it, one of the keys, right? And that is, even though you're using 2 epoxies, you're using amazing deep pour and you're using amazing Clearcast Plus. There's still different chemistry. Like there's still a little bit different chemically.
Sure.
So I think definitely in a future thinking, let's learn from kind of what's happened here, is you want to let all your deep pour that material cure completely. Your 5 to 7 day full cure range,
Yep.
right? Get all of that chemical reaction over with before you top coat it with another material. So
That
if
makes a
you're,
lot of sense.
if you're gonna top coat it with just a regular tabletop epoxy, and you're doing that within the gel time of ADP, amazing deep pour, ADP. If you're doing that within the gel time, then you're asking those 2 epoxies to chemically mix. And that's not actually how they were designed. Those are 2 different epoxies for 2 different things.
That makes sense why they are now trying to separate.
Yes.
This makes sense. Kevin is on the live. Kevin, so sorry.
Sorry, Kev. That's on us. But yeah, I would say fixing this in particular, there's the preventative measure.
Sure.
Now, kind of what you're dealing with, it's kind of a difficult one, to be honest with you, because you're now trying to get something to cure that doesn't really want to cure. So I would say either letting it go and starting from scratch and then doing it a different way is obviously a way to fix that. But if you wanted to fix your current project, you're going to have to basically say, all right, I'm going to slab off a lot of this gross uncured mess. I'm going to sacrifice a bit. I'm going to wear an apron.
Messy.
I'm going to plastic my entire room. Everything it's going to get messy in order to fix or salvage the piece that you currently have. So that's how I would do it, right? I'd scrape off as much by hand with a trowel or something that I could, just getting it down to whatever is cured. The denatured alcohol was a great idea to try to get things to cure a little bit quicker. But if it's gummy there, I'd try to scrape it off and then slab that off. And then what I would do is definitely go back, do your deep pour, let it cure for the 5 to 7 days, and then top coat it with the amazing Clear Cast Plus. That's a hard one, though. That's a difficult situation.
That is.
It's a big pour. You know, you don't want to see that type of thing happen. But
absolutely,
that's the fix that I would have for you in that instance. If you have a project that you've run into an issue, or you just have a question, let us know. DM us on Instagram. Throw it in. I'm not a huge social media person. I'm bad at these.
There's a little question box I
this
post.
Thing
yeah, my
gray.
face is usually on there.
Yeah, there you go.
Send us a message on Facebook. People are already in the comments telling us about some of their fails.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we might, if we have time, maybe we go back and pick up another Fix It.
Maybe. But I do have a quick add-on to this.
Yeah.
Someone said, I would have assumed that top coating before a full cure would have made for better adhesion. Now we know that's not the case, but if you're looking for the best adhesion, what would you do? Great
question. So, yeah, when it comes to especially adhering 2 different layers, if you're using the same epoxy, right, same material, then that's 100% correct. You know, you wait until that material's in the gel time for a little bit, so it's a little bit more solid, but it's still, let's call it a taffy consistency. Then you pour a second layer of that same material, which is exactly what Kevin did, to his credit, with the amazing deep pour.
Yes.
Great job.
Yes.
The challenge, like I mentioned, is the 2 different kind of chemistries between those. If you were trying to do a top coat on top of amazing deep pour, the way to do that properly and to do it well is full cure, and then actually go back and sand that deep pour and what you're about to top coat. When you sand something, if you think about a sanding pad, it's got a bunch of teeth. It's got a lot of grit to it.
Yep.
That grit actually cuts through the epoxy that's cured and causes, if we could zoom in with like a microscope, you'd see what would look like the Grand Canyon. You'd see a bunch of like carvings on it, so to speak.
Yep.
So that actually, when you do that, you increase the actual surface area that the next layer of epoxy is going to get into. It's not just going on the top, it's now going on the top, down into the cave, the cavern, the canyon, whatever it is, and then over again. So there's actually more square footage that it's covering. So that's why we sand and then pour a top coat of epoxy onto that. So if you're trying to do a top coat, sand on it, then pour your top coat. But after you sand, make sure you wipe it off with a bunch of alcohol and get rid of all the dust. Otherwise, you're going to have dust particles in there. It's not going to be what you want. No, nobody wants that. No question.
Problem solved. Verbally, Kevin,
problem solve.
Hopefully this helps your table.
Yes.
And anyone else who might have a sticky situation.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit upset at it. I have to be honest with you.
Fine.
No, that's good. If you have an issue that you want us to fix here on the live, or at least want us to talk about, you know, these aren't super hard for us to do. If there's another one in the chat right now, Tay, we can talk about that as well. But please send us a message. Call us at the phone number on our website.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
Email goes a long way. We have an awesome customer and technical services team. So info@alumilite.com is that email if you don't have it. But if you had something spill and you don't know what to do with it, I think the other day someone accidentally dropped some of their, just a little bit of B-side into their whole container of A-side.
Oh.
That wasn't good. Customer service knew how to fix that.
Yeah.
Technical services, I got Kevin in touch with.
That's right.
To help with his table. They're incredible people. We talk to them quite a bit. So highly recommend, because Jordan and I, unfortunately, don't know everything.
We try.
We do.
I give it a good shot.
We do.
I fall short every time.
They're worth reaching out to as well. Oh, love the honesty.
Hey,
love the honesty.
I mean, if I'm telling people it's okay to make mistakes, I got to admit to the fact that I make them all the time.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of mistakes, I've got a quick funny anecdote here.
All ears.
Travis said the working time of Clear Fast is comparable to the stress involved with defusing a bomb. Which means I can only imagine some of that resin kicked off a little too soon. which we know all too well.
We do. If for those of you that might not know exactly what he's talking about, we have within our urethanes, you saw over here in Science Town, we poured, this one was clear slow. So there's clear slow and then there's clear. Clear slow's open time is 12 minutes. Clear's open time is 7 minutes.
7, yeah.
So the pressure is a little bit on, right? If you're not used to dealing with urethanes and you're used to an epoxy that has 30 to 40 minutes, it's going to feel a little bit nervous.
Yes.
So
got to mix quick.
can empathize with the diffusing of the bomb
Yes.
type of situation. So, all right, the science situation right now, I'm going to have us
check-in.
check back in here.
Sure.
And right now, nothing major is going on. It's only been a little bit of time. We're going to see what happens as we continue to look. But you can tell this one is much, much thinner. It's not nearly as viscous as our amazing clear cast.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's really stayed on there.
it's really stayed on there pretty well, whereas a lot of this clear slow has kind of run off. So we will come back to this.
Awesome.
I've got a feeling something's going
I
to happen.
can't wait.
So.
I hope it does. And if it doesn't, that's
If it doesn't,
science.
okay, man.
That's still science.
I promised you an experiment. I didn't
That
promise
is
you a
still
result.
science.
Okay.
That is true.
Come on.
That is true. We don't want people coming for us in the chat.
You're welcome to if you want, though.
Yes.
Cool. So we've done science time. We're obviously going to come back to that with much more detail. We've done Fix It. It's time for segment number 3.
Q&A.
Q&A. So if you sent in a question ahead of time, we've gone ahead and we've pulled that question in. And we're going to answer those first. But if you have a question still right now on the live, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, type it in right now. This one right
Yes.
here.
Now's the time. I'm in all of the chats at once, so
It's a lot. It's a lot for me to
there's
look at.
a lot of screens.
Yeah,
don't
I
look
don't.
over here.
Nope.
You'll get confused.
I can't multitask.
That's not me insulting you.
Nope. That it's a fair insult for being honest.
Question number 1.
Fire away.
Number 1, how do I find out the ingredients in your resins? This was a specific question about clear slow coming from Dairy. If y'all don't know Dairy, got to get on the Dairy train.
Yes.
Search for him on Instagram. We share his work all the time. He's an
pretty
incredible
inspirational.
affiliate. But
is.
a great question to find out the ingredients in our products.
Where
Where
do
do
you
you
go?
go? You go to
Yeah.
baking recipe.
Absolutely. No, go to alumilite.com, find your product, and then you're going to look down. You're going to scroll down past the beautiful photos that we've taken, and you're going to click on what's called the safety data sheets or the material data sheets. And I actually think we have a screenshot, right? Yes, we do.
This is clear slow, side B,
That's
as
right.
you can see over
Is it on-
here.
Wait, is it
If
over?
you're on Facebook and YouTube.
But the thing
and
we're
the
looking at-
ingredients, side B is, what is that? Isocyanate?
Yeah, we're good
I think
at
that's
this.
a big word that I can say.
Isocyanate, yes,
Yep.
that is on there. So yeah, what we do with our SDS is we put the ingredients that we can share. You might see the phrase proprietary ingredients on there. That's not because we're trying to hide anything. That's just because we are a business, so we have
Secret
to keep some
formula,
things,
you
little
know.
secret formula kind of vibe. But we do want to be transparent about the things that you should be aware of. So if you've
Yes.
never used epoxy or you're trying to get into urethanes, maybe you have some allergies, or maybe you're trying to figure out is this something that I'm comfortable with my own predisposition. Check out the safety data sheets, right? Read those
Yes.
things. It
Yep.
was actually very, very helpful. They tell you
It is.
how to dispose of material. They tell you how to combine the material property. They tell you what to expect with regards to heat.
Yeah,
and
they
things
go
like
into
that.
first aid care. So if you
Yep.
have a spill or get it on yourself in any way, it walks through that. It's super helpful. It does split up the components from A side and B
right.
side separately. So there should be 2
Yes.
different pages for each one.
Yep,
But I think most, if not all of our products have those.
they do.
I mean, the stir sticks aren't going to. Sorry, those are made of wood if you need that ingredient.
If you get a splinter, tweezers is a recommended tool of choice.
Perhaps a Band-Aid if
And a
needed.
Band-Aid. Depends on how big the splinter is.
We're getting giggles from Matt
Oh, yeah,
back
we
here
we
on
broke
camera.
Matt for sure.
So,
All right, that's question
Question
1.
2.
Yeah, hit me with it.
when filling a cavity type mold,
Mm.
how do you prevent bubbles at the bottom so that they don't appear at the top of your casting once you demold it? That's
Gotcha.
a question from Trista.
All right, Trista. Yeah, let me make sure everybody who's watching understands what we're talking about.
Yes.
Just because if you're a resin artist or if you're used to working with resin and you're not used to working with mold making, then that question might feel a little odd
Yeah.
in its phrasing.
Yeah.
So when you have a mold, and you're actually pouring into it, normally what's happening is let's say we're making a mold of my hand, right? And we had my hand up here and we poured a bunch of silicone around it. But when we take that mold and we demold my hand and we're ready to make a resin casting, now it's actually, I got the mics a little bit in my way. I'll have to use my left hand here. Now it's actually upside down and backwards, right?
Yes.
So we're pouring into what would be my forearm down into the fingertips, just like that, right? So what Trista, is it Trista, right?
Yes.
What Trista is actually asking is, if there's air trapped all the way down here while I'm pouring a mold, how do I make sure that that gets out of here so that when we take it out of the mold and turn it right side up, there's not air bubbles in the top?
Yes. Happens
right?
all the time.
Happens all the time.
It does.
Right? Mold making, you have to think upside down and backwards. It's kind of a weird thing if you're not used to it, but trust me, you can do it. I believe in you. The main trick I always tell people to do is start by pouring just a little bit of material into the mold.
Sure.
Depends on the size of your mold, how much you should pour, but pour a little bit in. And then actually you're going to pick up that mold and you're going to rotate it around. What you're doing.
Burping the mold.
I knew you were.
It's my favorite phrase over here at Alumilite is the old burp the mold.
It's pretty great.
It is.
It's one of my favorite things that we have. But you're going to burp the mold. You're actually going to move the resin around. Then pour a little bit more in and do the same thing. All you're doing is, if you think about my hand as that example again, right? You're rotating this around so that that air that is looking to go up, it's trying to get out of that mold, believe it or not. If you rotate it, right, and you get the right angle, then it's actually going to travel up the entire length.
That
and
makes
it's going
a
to
lot
release.
of sense.
Yep. So
That
when
makes
you're
a lot of
rotating that, you're giving the air bubble the opportunity to kind of find its escape route, so to speak. I don't know why I was raising the roof.
Yeah.
Here we are.
We love it. We
burp
love to
the mold,
see it.
y'all. Burp the mold.
There's also, for smaller molds, maybe a small cube mold, you can just use a toothpick to kind of drag the resin into those corners, try and get any of those pesky little bubbles out that I know all too well from smaller castings.
For sure.
Keychains and whatnot. So
If you have access to a pressure pot or something like that, that's an obvious way to just go ahead and crunch everything down as well.
not everyone has that, and those are scary. And on one of these lives, you're going to teach me how to use one.
I will. We do have an idea for another segment.
We do.
Yeah.
So, but also, people probably want to know that, not just me.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
I do want to know that
We'll figure that
selfishly.
out. So there you go, Trista. There's an answer to your question. And again, if you have questions for today's live, keep putting them in here because that's where we're coming to right after we do. Is this our last one?
This is
Our
number
last
3.
prepared question. Let's do it.
Can I warm up my bottles of epoxy by placing them next to a heater or in the sun, or is only a warm water bath okay? This question comes from Emily.
Good question, Emily. Yeah, you can heat up your resin that way. For those who are trying to figure out why in the world is Emily heating up her resin, resin, especially usually epoxy specifically, has a tendency to be, especially in the bottle before you've actually mixed and poured it, it's a little bit thicker. So what we're doing is we're actually trying to figure out how do we make that thinner. So when you heat up the resin in the bottle, you naturally add heat. You actually make it a little bit more viscous, or a little wetter, actually, so to speak. And then you can actually mix and stir a lot easier. So that's why we heat the bottles up. And a common way that we tell people to do that is a warm water bath with the lids on very, very tight, because we don't want moisture to get in there. So, excuse me. So yeah, that's why she's asking this question.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right. So to answer that question, we are going to add heat by the sun. That's great. Sun heating is not a bad thing, but do keep in mind that the sun does provide heat, but it also provides UV rays, exactly.
Which no one wants.
Right. So sun exposure to resin, whether it's combined or uncombined, isn't something you want to just haphazardly do. It's not something you want to have exposed for a really long time. So definitely you can do it. It would work fine. Just I wouldn't make it something that you do with a gallon and then you use an ounce and you keep doing it to the same gallon again and again and again. So yes, you can use the sun. If you want to use a heater, you can absolutely use a heater. I will give a massive caveat here. Don't put a space heater directly next to these bottles and then leave them by themselves.
Ooh.
Right? if you do that, you could end
Safety
up.
warning.
Yeah, huge safety warning here. We're going to have Matt prepare another graphic for the next live. That's just a flashing red
Don't
flag
do
here.
this.
Don't do that, right? But yeah, it's a safety issue, right? If you actually melt through that plastic bottle, then your resin's going everywhere.
It's not good.
No bueno. We don't
No.
want that. We don't want that at
No.
all. So ambient room temperature is always what I recommend for people, right? Juice the heat in your garage. And if that is through a space heater, that's fine. Just make sure maybe that space heater is far away from the bottles.
Pro tip.
Pro tip. Pro tip for you. And also, it goes, it feels pretty obvious sometimes, but take them off the ground. The ground actually is usually very, very cold.
Makes a lot of sense.
In the wintertime,
Does.
believe it or not. So if they're on the ground and you're still heating them, you're getting a lot of heat coming in from the side, and you're getting a lot of cold coming up from the bottom. And it's just going to take forever.
I'm going to show
not super
Instagram our
helpful.
shelves of product.
Oh, yeah,
so
there
they
you
can
go.
see how off the ground it is.
Yeah. I don't like to
Facebook
put
and YouTube,
product on
it's
the ground.
just, it's on a shelf.
Yep.
That's what you get.
There it is.
We've got a lot of questions coming in.
We do?
Luckily.
Hey, that's
no
great.
one ever gives their questions to me ahead of time, which I just have to say. I'm calling everyone out on this live. Your girl needs some questions ahead of time.
Just a heads
to
up.
pop up on the screen.
Just a heads up.
Instagram.
We-
I'm looking at you.
We want to put your name on this graphic, right? We want
We
to.
want you on the
We
live.
can we'll put your Instagram handle on there.
Heck, I'd put a
promotion.
picture of you on there
Put
if
your
that's what you
face.
want.
How about a PO box if you want people to send you cash? I mean, we're up for anything, but I mean,
Yeah,
send us
but
your
I
questions
need
ahead
it.
of time.
I need it.
Right.
Because right now I'm overwhelmed.
You're overwhelmed?
Got quite a few. Question
Okay.
1, is this pre-recorded? Unfortunately, no.
I think you've just
Fortunately?
yeah. I think the fact of saying no is answering that question. Although I am very touched that this feels pre-recorded.
Me too, but
Yeah. But
we're
it's
gonna
not.
have some fun with it.
That's right.
So
I'm
I'm
hoping
curious
this,
about science.
I did this. I got to be, okay, here's my transparency to y'all. Okay. I did this test ahead of time, right? I poured this onto these wet blocks and eventually something happened. But I was called into a meeting
And you don't know how much time
and
went by.
just like an old guy, I completely lost track of time. Just lost it completely. Just
well,
missed it.
what I will say for this science check-in is if by the time we are done answering questions and
Or-
hop off, which I will say, if you have any last-minute questions, throw them in the chat
That's
now.
right.
We've got a good maybe 10 minutes left to answer.
Yeah, we'll fire through them.
If nothing has happened
Oh, we're going to have to post about
and
it.
nothing remains to happen, that's fine. We'll leave everyone knowing that. But if something does happen, I will post a picture in each chat
Yes.
on each live
Yes.
to prove
Yes.
science.
This is not what I wanted to happen live. But if you were asked the question before of are we live? Yeah, we are.
Yep, we're waiting.
We're absolutely
waiting.
live right now. So what's another question, Tay, while we
Cheers.
come back for
Yes.
science in a little bit?
Let's see what we've got. Do certain micas cause clear slow to cure faster?
Oh, interesting. Not in my experience,
I don't
no.
think so.
I have not personally experienced a certain mica powder causing it to fire off any faster. I will, in transparency, though, say that the mica powders that I use almost all of the time are our polycolor mica powders.
True.
They are made to go with the resins that we have. So if you're using a different mica powder that maybe has a different chemical structure of some kind, then
Interesting.
Maybe that's going on, but I can't really
What
speak to that.
else changing in the environment could cause something to cure faster?
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about it already with the heating up the bottles, but ambient temperature causes things to cure a lot faster. So
Sure.
I talk about, I mean, if you're new here, you haven't heard me say the word exotherm. If you're not new here, it's like my favorite word. I should just
Yes.
get a t-shirt printed that just says
You should.
exothermic.
It's probably exotherm.
It's
Yeah.
probably exotherm. That's funny. No, if you heat something up, you increase the exothermic reaction. You know, you make that happen a lot faster. There are drawbacks to that, though, so you have been duly warned. You add a lot of heat, you add a lot of centralized heat, especially that material, especially with a clear slow or something like that, is going to pull towards the middle, and you're going to get shrinkage on the sides and the corners.
Yep.
So if you're a wood turner, you're probably used to accommodating for that.
Yep.
If you've never used it before, it's going to catch you off guard.
I did see a question come in about that.
Yeah.
Shrinkage.
Shrinkage.
Causes that.
That's a
Big
part
pores,
of it.
hot pores.
Yep.
One day we cooked some large pores that we did
Yes.
on a hot plate to try and get them to cure faster. And all of them had very round corners from
Yes.
the shrinkage that occurred.
Yep.
So
A little bit more. I turned it up a little bit. You talked about mistakes earlier. That was one of them.
Yeah,
I turned it up a little too hot.
yeah, pretty hot, and then we had to put them in the fridge to hopefully stop any more of that happening.
Yes.
So this is what happens. Don't put stuff that has resin in it in your actual fridge with food in it.
That's
I
right.
feel like that just needs to be said. We
does
have
need to be said.
a special garage fridge for weird stuff like this.
And we also have a garage oven.
We do.
We have a garage oven.
And we have a garage frying pan.
We do have a garage frying pan.
Some weird stuff out here. I feel like we should do show and tell.
Yeah, we got a weird job.
Yeah, we do have weird jobs.
Yeah, we do.
Let's answer some questions.
Keep going.
There are air bubbles coming out of the wood while my resin is curing. I'm not using a pressure pot. Is that a bad idea?
Wow. Okay, I got some follow-ups for that.
All right, Mike, this is for you.
Mike, I hope you're here. Where's Mike at?
Mike's right here.
Mike on Facebook.
Mike on Facebook.
Mike on Facebook. Here we go. I need to know what resin you're using. First of all, that's going to be an important thing. But in the meantime, if you're getting air bubbles that are coming out of your wood, it definitely means that your wood has not been completely stabilized.
Sure.
Right? With a penetrating material like a cactus juice.
Just posted a video about this.
We did, didn't we?
A YouTube video.
Look
If
at
you're
that.
on our YouTube channel, you have easy access.
You should check that one out. But yeah, that's a big part of what's happening. If you're doing, let's say, if you're using an amazing deep pour on a river table or a cutting board or something like that, we always do a seal coat with a regular epoxy that has a much shorter open time, so that leaking air doesn't actually remain. It actually really quickly gets locked in there. Then we pour our amazing deep pour on top of it. So that's a big part of this as well. But yeah, other than that, the resins and the curing and all that, if you're leaking air, it probably means that there's air and moisture still within your wood.
That makes
And if
sense.
that's the case, then urethane is not going to like it.
He's using Amazing Clear Cast. He
Amazing
got
Clear
back in the
Cast.
chat. Yeah.
Michael, thank you for getting back in the chat. If you're using Amazing Clear Cast, what you can do to mitigate that even more is don't pour it until much later in the open time. Think about the open time of Amazing Clear Cast, 30 to 40 minutes, right? So you still have 30 to 40 minutes.
It's a long time.
For air to exchange with the resin and moisture to interact with it as well. So, yeah, if that's what you're doing, I would say wait until later in the open time to do that. Or maybe, in the future, if there was some other material that we had or something like that, that would maybe cure a little bit faster, that would be another consideration. But, TBD. TBD. I was winking at that camera. Instagram, I apologize.
Instagram, you get like
you
some
go.
of it. And I'm sorry, like our Facebook and YouTube has cool graphics and stuff, but we love our Instagram followers.
You just get a lot of eye
You get to
contact.
hang out on the side. You get my
right.
side so I can see what you're chatting with
Questions.
here.
Yeah, what other questions do we have?
How long can I leave deep pour in the mold?
Ooh, how long can you leave it in the mold?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Also, I have a science update that I don't think anyone else can see except me. This side is starting to do something.
It is.
In my direct line of eyesight.
It is.
And I might have to rotate towards Matt.
Give it a second.
Here we go. Can y'all see this?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I hope they can.
I'm seeing it.
There's some foaming.
Matt's going to take care of it, Facebook and YouTube, if you're there. Instagram, there's foaming going on. I promised in that Alumilite Explains video that if you've got moisture with urethane, that foaming is the big causality, the big thing that happens. And
It's even happening on top
and it's happening
now.
on top now. That's the surface. The Matt just handed me one of these as well. So here you go. Right here on the top, we're starting to see that foaming action. That's going to get a lot worse, I'm hoping here.
I'm hoping.
Well, I mean, honestly,
Yes,
I want the mistake.
it's for science.
I want the mistake here and now, so the mistake doesn't end up in y'all's hands later. So right here, there's foaming happening. Right here, there's even more. I'm telling you, based off the test I did earlier, it's going to get a lot worse.
No urethane with water.
No
Don't
urethane
do
with
it.
water. Don't
That's
do it.
a no-no.
Don't do it. We're learning here. What other questions do we have?
Did we answer how long I can leave deep pour in the molds?
No, you did not. I got completely distracted.
Yeah, same. I saw the science.
Confession. You can leave deep pour in a mold for a very, very long time. I mean,
Is it really,
technically,
like forever if you wanted to?
Yeah, I would
How long
say
should you leave it in the mold?
definitely. If you want to make sure that there's no issues, I would leave it for 5 days. Right, 5 days means that you're not going to have anything that's uncured, or especially in a smaller pour, right? Because deep pour has a much longer cure schedule. It means it takes a lot longer for that to gel, a lot longer for that to go from gel to taffy, and then from taffy to tack-free, and then from tack-free to fully cured. So definitely 5 to 7 days is the full cure for ADP. You can absolutely leave it in there for that long. The caution that I will give you is don't demold ADP at least here, folks, 24 to 48 hours. It's going to be maybe tack-free at that point, depending on the temperature in your space or in your room, but it might still be malleable or soft. It's a good word. Malleable. Malleable?
Malleable.
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 Malleable. Might still be malleable, so you don't want to dent corners or anything like that. So if you've got the time and you can afford it, 5 to 7 days. If you're if you're in a rush, if you're in a hurry, then get you a shop oven, and then go ahead, put it in the shop oven, give it a post-cure for a couple hours, and that should speed up the process.
Got it. Awesome. Very helpful. Do you have any tips for maximizing the library life, it's a little bit of a tongue twister for me, of silicone molds while they're not being used?
Good question. Library life, for those that maybe don't know what that is, if you imagine a library, which hopefully y'all can still picture a library. It's been a while since I've been in one since COVID.
It sounds really nice.
It does, just silence.
We'll meet y'all at the library as soon as everything opens.
But if you think about a library, it's just books on shelves sitting there. So when we say library life, what we mean is how long can a mold just sit unused on a shelf and then be taken off of that shelf and then used.
Sure.
So just a rough kind of idea. Library life for a tin cure silicone is about a year or so, plus or minus a year or two, depending. Library life for a platinum cure silicone is closer to 30 years.
That is a
right?
long time.
Very long time. So if library life is really important to you, use a platinum silicone if you can. If you're not going to have anything that's going to cause cure inhibition,
sure.
You're going to have a much longer library life. But something that does help your silicone have a longer life in general is something that's called silicone oil.
Okay.
Which is actually pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Excuse me. You actually just add a little bit of silicone oil, which I'm pretty sure you can find that actually on our website.
We do sell that. We do sell silicone oil.
Yep. You can kind of add it to your mold and you'll get a little bit of extra life out of it. You're kind of reinvigorating it, right, with little extra silicone, so it's got a little bit of extra power. We actually had a customer, a larger customer that did stuff for the movie industry, who had this mold and they didn't have the master anymore and they just needed 2 or 3 more shots out of it. And they were trying to figure out what to do, and so we told them, hey, get some silicone oil, and they got the extra 2 or 3 shots out of it that they needed.
Yep.
So
I've seen those end-of-life castings, and they can be pretty messy.
They're gross.
The oil makes sense now.
Yes. So that's why if you're wondering when you go to the accessories page of our website, what's silicone oil? That's what it's for, folks. So
awesome.
if you're looking to extend it, there you go.
Awesome. I'm going to check with Instagram here.
Yeah, check with Instagram. While you're doing that,
yes,
science... It's getting even more sciencey over here.
All right.
I'm gonna kick it to Matt and camera 2 for Facebook and YouTube. I'm gonna get my pointing popsicle stick. And I think Matt's being bold. Matt, are you going handheld, brother?
Whoa.
Matt's going handheld.
Oh, this is a first for us.
This is a real treat.
Here
this is a real
comes.
treat. But look here. What I said was a small little area is we're in Foam City here, folks. We're in Instagram, you too.
See if we
Taylor's not gonna go handheld. Oh, you can zoom. Like I said.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's there.
Me just hovering
Everyone's
over it.
just dealing with us right now.
Hey, this is live, man. This is fun. We're all hanging out together.
World.
Yeah, so there is some, and this is just going to get worse the longer that we go.
Yes, that's
the
going to
longer
be
the
white.
episode, it's going to be white.
Yeah.
It actually, the one I did earlier looked like a beautiful frothy latte that you should not eat. Gotta
Yes, do not.
double check and say
Safety
that.
warning.
Don't.
We do need
don't
some
eat
safety
that.
warnings, or just like a sign here that says, "Do not consume."
Don't eat that.
Yeah, and
Luckily.
don't put it in your fridge.
This isn't. What's the Italian dessert that everybody passes around? You know.
I don't know.
Oh, what'd you say?
Italian dessert.
Y'all know what
Jump
this
in the
is.
chat.
You know what this
Jump
is,
in the
everybody.
chat.
It's the Italian dessert that you have. It's layered. Tiramisu.
That was at the same time.
Yes,
that
tiramisu.
Was same brainwave.
It does look like a delicious tiramisu.
Mike says this
Anyways.
is better than watching paint dry.
Well, it's a low
And
bar there,
someone
brother.
else said, not by much.
There we go. Fair enough. Duly noted. Good feedback.
Savage.
Yeah.
Savage.
Other questions?
Savage in the chat. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Someone wanted to know if we sell epoxy for river tables.
We do.
That came through Instagram. Yes, we do. Amazing Deep Pour.
Check it out.
Is the epoxy for you.
It is.
For all of your deep
We did
pours.
a large river table project.
We did.
A book match pair of walnut slabs. If you want to check that out, go to the YouTube channel. I did that with a longtime friend of mine, Josh Lemasters. He's a good egg. Josh, if you're watching, thank you. That was a great project. Thanks for doing that with me. So
Yes.
cool. Any last minute? Oh, this is just getting worse and worse the longer that we're here. Those bubbles are going insane right now. It's pretty fun.
Well, apparently people aren't wowed by it,
You know what? That's okay.
which is I am, because I can see it up close and personal.
You can see it up close and
And
personal.
I know that if that were my table project that I just poured,
You'd be a little upset.
be extremely upset.
That's right.
Extremely.
That's right.
So
Meanwhile, the epoxy looks.
it looks flawless.
It looks fine.
It's your choice for a seal coat.
Still don't
folks.
want to recommend doing that with wet wood, but you're definitely going to have better results than it with a urethane. So, cool. Any last minute questions? Otherwise, this is going to get worse. We're going to post it on Instagram stories so that
Yeah.
you can see how bad it actually gets, because it gets pretty bad.
Yes, we sure will.
And we'll go from there.
I even have a video of us just mixing clear with water,
That's right.
which I'll upload as well to show that reaction. But
not
no last minute questions.
Awesome.
If there are any that didn't get answered on the live on YouTube or Facebook, I'll go back and answer those in the chat. Instagram, if you did not get your question answered, just send us a message. I will answer it, or I'll give Jordan the phone and make him answer it because he doesn't log into our Instagram. That would be no bueno.
Sorry, y'all. Cool. Well, until next time, we're going to do another live like this. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you didn't like, and we'll change things up. We're going to
Yeah.
do different segments next time.
We'll get weird.
Well, I'm okay with that.
If
We're
you
going to try
haven't
different fun
seen
things.
our Instagram video of taping 2x4s to Jordan's arms
Yes.
to make him make something without bending his elbows, that was pretty entertaining. We could try that on the live.
We're going to try a few different
Other
things.
silly things.
That's right.
Let us know what you want to see,
For sure. Okay.
and we'll work with you.
All right. Guys, until next time, throw your questions in the DM, in an email, or in any chat, or text us, or call us at any time.
All of the above.
All right. Have a good weekend,
right.
y'all. Thanks for joining us
Yes.
for this live. We'll post photos of the
Thank you
science
so
of
much.
experiment, and we'll see you.